If I lived in one of those homes in East Palestine and somebody came knocking on my door and they were wearing a hazmat suit, I'd say, "I'm so glad you're here. Here's a drink of water from my faucet. Drink it, and then we'll sit down and have a chat." And if they refuse to drink it, I'd say, "Get the heck out of my house and come back when you can tell me some good news, because you're not doing it today."
Last night, lightning hit a jet out of Texas at 37,000 feet. JetBlue had a near miss with a private plane earlier this week. 2 more trains rolled off the tracks, this time in Florida, while East Palestine, Ohio remains a dangerous sight. TBN's Marc Huckabee has spent quite a bit of time traveling the country as a presidential candidate and as governor. He managed transportation safety issues in the state of Arkansas. It's great to see you, Governor.
Great to be with you, Mark. Thank you very much. And, I'm glad we talked about this topic today because it affects every American at some point or another in their lives.
Yeah, when you were the governor of Arkansas, you've dealt with so many of these infrastructure issues. You have to plan years in advance. Are we looking at something where our infrastructure, which has been neglected for so long, is finally starting to catch up with us?
There are a lot of factors in play. One is the infrastructure itself, which we've known for a long time. We are several trillion dollars, about $7 trillion away from getting our roads, bridges, and our various ports in decent shape. Our airports are technologically in disarray. We have the capacity to do things. And even 20 years ago, we knew that what we had essentially, you might say, we had the Jetson era technology on the ground, but in the air, we were still running Flintstones technology. And it's really an unfortunate thing that we have not made the upgrade that is necessary that would greatly enhance public safety, specifically in flight, but it also would have a dramatic impact on trucking and trains. And sometimes I feel like we need to get John Candy from the movie. I know he's deceased, but that wonderful role he played in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, make him transportation secretary, because Lord knows he could do a better job than Mayor Pete is doing, who mostly is missing in action. We've seen him more on a milk carton than at the scene of some of these disasters.
Well, to that point, as you well know, when people are worried, when people are afraid, that's when true leaders step up and they step in front of the cameras, they ease concern. We really haven't seen that from either Mayor Pete or even the president.
Well, we haven't. And I think sometimes people say, well, if the president shows up, it will be a distraction. No, it's actually the opposite of that. And Mark, you've been in the White House. You understand that whether it's the national level for the president or a state level with the governor, showing up means that all the cameras and reporters show up with you. So you bring attention to a situation that otherwise is getting neglected. But you also bring a set of eyes and a sensitivity that means that you will start marshaling assets and resources to that locality and making sure that things that can be done are being done. Nobody expects the president to show up and fix everything and make their water potable or to make their soil fresh and clean again. He can't do that. But he can show up and begin to order things. He can also show up and let the rest of the country know that this is a serious problem and we need to address it.
One of the things that we've seen, apparently the president ordered federal officials to go door to door in East Palestine here recently, but you still have people wearing hazmat suit telling people who live there and breathe the air, drink the water, that everything is safe. And there is a true disconnect going on right now. And I think that's why people are afraid.
If I lived in one of those homes in East Palestine and somebody came knocking on my door and they were wearing a hazmat suit, I'd say, "I'm so glad you're here. Here's a drink of water from my faucet. Drink it, and then we'll sit down and have a chat." And if they refuse to drink it, I'd say, "Get the heck out of my house and come back when you can tell me some good news, because you're not doing it today."
Yeah, and that's the concern, that this is really a long-term problem. And I think many people fear that while the water may be safe today, what is going to be the impact of drinking it, breathing that air, living in around that soil over the course of 5, 10, 25 years from now?
And the cost of their homes, does that mean the real estate plummets in that area? Who's going to help with that? I mean, I'm sure the railroad is going to be incredibly on the hook for most of the liability. But one of the things that was very depressing to me is that in the midst of this, rather than the Biden administration and its officials like Mayor Pete stepping up and saying, we're going to take charge, we're going to get under this thing and get it going. Instead, they try to find a way to blame President Trump and the previous administration when everything is very clear that it wasn't an issue with any of the deregulating aspects of the rail system that had a thing to do with this. And that level of dishonesty and being so disingenuous about what's at stake and what's at play here, I think just exacerbates this problem and brings a new level of distrust to government that, frankly, just doesn't have any to spare. The credibility of the government is at an all-time low.
Well, and so switching subjects, as the former governor of Arkansas and someone who's closely watching the current governor of Arkansas, big news is coming out of your home state as it relates to school choice and a new law that is on the verge of passing. This is a real opportunity. Arkansas is taking the lead of empowering parents with their children's education.
Well, the state's 47th governor, who grew up in the governor's mansion as a child, is back with full force, putting together an extraordinary education plan that is bold and really something I've not seen in any state. Not only a huge increase in teacher pay to attract better teachers and keep them, but the most maybe just glaring piece of boldness in this plan is school choice that would ultimately give parents the opportunity to put their children where they wanted them, and the money would follow the child, whether it was public school, private school, parochial school, even homeschooling. This is revolutionary, and it's interesting that the only people, and they're out in full force, but the people most against it are the teachers' unions. And they want the pay. They say, oh, we want the pay. We think that would be wonderful to get the pay, but they don't want the accountability. Well, who wouldn't want to get a bigger paycheck and less responsibility for the outcome of the job? But Sarah's sticking to her guns. I think she's been very fortunate to have a very solid conservative legislature, both in the House and Senate. And it's going to pass. She's going to get it. And it's going to be a tremendous advancement for education in Arkansas.